Welcome to the Milpark Education 2021 graduation ceremony. A graduation is a formal ceremony at which qualifications, with all the associated rights and privileges, are awarded to the candidates whose name appear in the graduation program. Graduation is one of the greatest and most significant milestones in an individual's life. It is a joyous acknowledgement and celebration of the achievements of those students who have successfully met the requirements for the completion of their qualifications. The graduation ceremony is the culmination of the concerted and consistent efforts of two parties: the students who endeavoured and sacrificed in order to achieve their qualification, and our teaching and support staff who guided those students to this proud and significant moment in their lives. This year, more than 3,000 Milpark students will graduate around the country with qualifications in management, leadership, banking, investments, financial planning, insurance, and commerce. This last year, due to COVID-19, it has been a different learning experience for both students and Milpark staff. I am therefore extremely proud of all of our graduates who have persevered with their studies during this difficult and unprecedented time in our lives to reach their goal of graduating today. So, from all of us at Milpark Education, it is an honour and a privilege to welcome you and your family members to this year's graduation ceremony.
Malupakan isu pondolayo Izwa ini tanda soyetu Kosi sikelela tina lusa polwayo Morena bulu kasih shabasa Yesu Ufedi sedi twale matwenye Usibuluke Usibuluke Si chabasa Yesu Si chabasa South Africa South Africa 80 blow van onze hemel 80 diepte van ons ziel wordt ons eeuwige gebergtes waar die kranse antwoord geeft sounds the call to come together and united we shall stand. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our land.
We are also honoured to welcome David Venter, the Head of Department for the School of Investment and Banking, as our keynote speaker, as well as our guest speaker, Ethel Williams. On that note, please welcome our School of Investment and Banking keynote speaker, David Venter.
Good day all. On behalf of Stadio Higher Education, Milpark Education, and more specifically, the Milpark School of Investments and Banking, I would like to extend a special word of welcome to all the valued stakeholders of this graduation. I also greet the graduates together with their families and friends on this very special virtual graduation day. We have all come through a tumultuous year brought about by the COVID pandemic. Along with the pressure of studying, many in our school's community have faced anxiety around the state of our economy, the health of our friends and family, as well as having to juggle a new virtual world of work for many. I'm proud to say that all of you have persevered through this year and run the race to the end. During your studies at Milpark, there would have been many learning outcomes which had to be mastered and assessed for you to pass your various modules and to ultimately graduate here today. One learning outcome which may not have been specifically mentioned, but which will inevitably benefit you in the long run, is resilience. I found a marvelously succinct definition of resilience in Psychology Today, which stated, resilience is the psychological quality that allows some people to be knocked down by the adversities of life and come back at least as strong as before. Now, I truly believe that the last academic year was the most challenging we have ever faced as an institution for both our academic and administrative staff, as well as for you, our student body. We've all inevitably been knocked down by the adversities of life this year. We have all persevered together through these trying times, and ultimately, when the scales are weighed, we have all shown our resilience and determination to come back at least as strong as before. And today, we as the academic staff of Milpark School of Investments and Banking celebrate together with you all, the graduates and your proud friends and family. In relation to persevering through adversity and acknowledging achievements on a day like today, the following quote from Muhammad Ali sticks out to me. He said, "Don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion." You all have not quit, and today you are acknowledged as a champion on this academic stage. You have succeeded in your academic endeavor. Well done. In recent years, I've reiterated to graduating classes the fact that financial services is an industry which is ever evolving and fast-paced, and as such, you're going to be required to constantly adapt, evolve, and take initiative in order to become the future leaders of this industry. This will involve being lifelong learners, whether in a formal or informal setting. Today represents the end of this chapter in your life, but before moving swiftly on to the celebration to come, I'd like the graduates to individually do a reflection exercise, like what my former colleague and Dean of the school, Dr. Antje, would do on occasions like this. She would ask students to take a step back and consider the beginning of their journey at Milpark. Let's do a reflection together now. Let's do this together. Reflect on your individual experiences. Who encouraged you and inspired you to apply for this qualification? Is that person present with us virtually today? How did you celebrate when you were told you were successful in being admitted onto the program? Think about the special individuals who supported you in this journey. Reflect on what difficulties you overcame and how you persevered. This may be the end of this part of your learning journey, but please, can I encourage you to continue on this learning path in the years to come. If you remember nothing else from today, please remember that the most important skills you will have to master in the world of work going forward will be to take initiative and be ready to evolve and to continually upskill yourself, which will entail being a lifelong learner. The equally important skill of resilience has inevitably been mastered thanks to forces outside of our control, and this too will serve you well in the years ahead. In relation to being a lifelong learner, Albert Einstein made this point more succinctly when he said that intellectual growth should commence at birth and cease only at death. Finally, I would like to reiterate my congratulations to you, the graduating class. I know that for many of you, this hasn't been an easy journey. But as the great author C.S. Lewis once said, hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. All the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you, David. Our next speaker today is Ethel Williams. Ethel Williams is the first person to earn 5 master's degrees from 5 of the world's top universities: Harvard, Oxford, MIT, London School of Economics and Political Science, and London Business School. This despite growing up on the Cape Flats in Cape Town during apartheid. He has lived and worked in the USA, UK and South Africa, where he has held senior executive positions at the JSE-listed top 40 company and 2 other multinational corporations. He has founded a management consulting firm and 2 NGOs, and has served as chairman and board member of numerous organizations in the private and social development sectors in South Africa. In addition to his academic and professional accomplishments, Williams is an award-winning poet and an author of 15 books. He is the only person to have won the Sol Plaatje European Union Poetry Award twice and has had over 100 of his poems published in publications around the world. Among his books is his autobiography, Pushing Boulders, which chronicles the journey of perseverance and triumph despite impossibilities. He is a regular speaker at literacy and social development events globally. Williams believes that through mutual acknowledgements and compassion, we can build a more socially cohesive and ethical society, and that through resilience, we as individuals can thrive and realize our greatness. He is currently a research fellow at the Center for Applied Ethics at Stellenbosch University and chief executive of the Institute of Social and Corporate Ethics. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ethel Williams.
Good day, I'm Ethel Williams. I'm very excited to be here joining with you in the celebration of this significant day of your graduation. Congratulations on getting through your studies. I know from my experience, it's a long, hard slug. So enjoy this special moment. It's something you will look back on for the rest of your life as a significant moment in your life. I love graduations, and as I'll mention in a moment, I've been to 6 of my own graduations, and hopefully number 7 coming up. And I love learning. I love the idea of discovering new things, and you discover new things obviously not just from learning in books. You discover it from meeting people, from visiting places, and I love that idea of new, of something different, of trying to expand what I know, expand my horizons. And so I love learning, I love books, I love graduation. So I'm really excited to be here with you. Perhaps just a few things about myself, because I want to discuss my journey a bit and then draw some lessons from that, which I want to share with you on this momentous day. So I'm a writer, I'm a poet, I'm also a social philosopher. And as a philosopher, I spend a lot of time thinking about how society could be better on a number of different dimensions. I have the accolade of having the only person to have 5 master's degrees from 5 of the world's top universities. So I've got a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from WITS. I've got an MBA from the MIT Sloan School of Management in the US. I then did a master's in finance at the London Business School, obviously in the UK. I did a master's in public administration at Harvard, at the Harvard Kennedy School. I also hold a master's in political theory from LSE, the London School of Economics. And I hold a master's in political philosophy from Oxford. And I'm currently completing my PhD at Oxford as well. So you can see why I love graduations. I clearly do. Other statistics, I've written 15 books, and I've got 5 more on the way. I've got a library of 7,000 books. In fact, that's where I'm sitting right now in my library, my personal library. I've been blessed with 6 literary awards, and there's another accolade I've got. I'm the only person to have won the Sol Plaatje European Union Poetry Award twice. So most of my awards are for my poetry, some for individual poems, some for books. I've started 2 companies and 3 NGOs. I've lived and worked in South Africa, in the US, and in the UK. I've held senior executive positions in South Africa. I was director of strategy for Old Mutual. I was a partner at a management consulting firm. I was a senior director of a business in the UK. So have had the luxury and privilege of seeing some of the world. Anyway, what I'd like to share with you is, and linked to some of those statistics I shared, is my life philosophy. I think we all live with a life philosophy. And the philosophy is intertwined with our goals. So some of us might say, I want to be the richest person on earth, and that's fine in some ways. Or you could say, I want to travel the world, or you can say, I want to run my own business. And so those are good goals to have. But still, you've got a philosophy, implicitly or explicitly, you've got a philosophy of how you're going to live your life. And some might say, I'm going to succeed at all costs, no matter what I do to other people. And sadly, some people do hold that philosophy, which I think is quite a destructive philosophy. Some will say, I'm going to succeed in life, but also care for those around me. I think a more wholesome philosophy. So we all, whether we've expressed it or not, have a philosophy of life. And I have, over time, just thought about what my philosophy of life is, because I think that becomes important when we have to make tough life decisions. And so what's emerged for me is my philosophy is going to be that I will travel my path of possibility. I'm going to approach my life as this journey, which is very cliched, and I apologize for that, but I'm going to travel my path of possibility. And I want to explore just what those words mean and what that life philosophy means, and maybe give you some ideas of how this idea of traveling my path of possibility has materialized in my life. Because the things I have been successful at, the things I have achieved, as you'd expect, just as with your successes, they don't just happen, right? They're not just overnight successes. They often entailed conscious effort and conscious decisions to pursue things. And so I want to show how my life philosophy intertwines and delivers what I have accomplished. So the first idea with this traveling the path of possibility is that I'm seeing life as a path. I'm seeing life as a journey. And with any path or any road you're traveling, it's got different terrain. Sometimes it's rocky, sometimes it's sandy, sometimes it's smooth. Sometimes it's a rise, sometimes there's a decline, there are potholes, especially if you're in South Africa, we know how to navigate potholes. There are bends in this path, there are bends in this road. And I think this is important to have this image of your journey ahead and your journey to date as this path, because it's not straight, it's not smooth, but it requires you to decide that you are going to travel this journey regardless of the terrain you're exposed to. I think importantly also with this idea of the path is that based on the terrain, based on your energy or what's happening in your life, you travel this path at different speeds. Sometimes you have to be running. When there's a deadline, you have to be running along this path. When there's a race, when there's only one person who's going to achieve that scholarship or achieve that gold medal, we have to be racing in life and rushing and getting on with it. But we also know, to be realistic about our path, is sometimes we need to slow down. Sometimes we need to be going much slower and let everyone else rush past us. But we know we need to slow down. Sometimes we need to stop along this path and just reflect. And so I find that quite useful. So when I find myself at a particular point in my life, I say, well, this is part of the path. This is a rough patch I'm going through, and this is part of this path that I have to travel. Don't worry, at the end of this hill, it's going to be downhill, and so it's going to be much easier. And I find that quite reassuring, but also it's realistic that life is this path. I think importantly also in thinking about this path is that the road sometimes splits. And so we've got to make decisions. Do we go left? Do we go right? Which degree do I choose? Which job do I choose? Which potential spouse do I choose? And our lives are constantly filled with these choices we've got to make. And so being able to have clarity about our dreams, where we are going, will help us make those decisions. And perhaps the last point on this metaphor of the path is that sometimes there are dead ends. Sometimes you're traveling on your path, you've taken left, and then you get a dead end. Now, my approach has been, that's actually great news, because it says my destiny, my possibilities are not along that path because I've hit a dead end. So as painful as it is and as frustrating as it is, I then got to back up and then take a different path. So to give you an example, I talked earlier about having completed 6 university degrees. I've also canceled or quit 3 university degrees. I started a degree. An example was I was doing a PhD at WITS a few years ago, very interested in the topic, but another opportunity came along. And that's when you've got to say, well, I've got to make a choice right now. I can't do both of these things. What am I going to do? And I used my long-term goals to guide me in making the decision. So I quit the PhD. And I think that it seems almost contradictory or paradoxical or self-defeating to say that we need to become skilled at quitting. We need to know when to quit. So I love the idea of pushing, of being resilient, of not giving up. But sometimes we also have to accept that that isn't the path we should follow. That is a dead end. Change direction and keep going. So that's the path metaphor. I see my life as traveling along this path. I'm not necessarily looking for an endpoint. It's a path of possibility. I want to live my life with adventure, trying new things, being in new places, in experiencing different experiences. And so it's a path that opens up to me as I travel it. Let me go into the next part. It's a path, as I was saying now, a path of possibility. It's not a path that I'm driving towards an endpoint and then I say, now I'm done, I'm there. In my philosophy of life, you're never there. You're always growing, you're always learning, you're always trying new things. And so it's a path of possibility. And I love this word possibility because it seems it's open. It doesn't close me off. It opens up ideas, it opens up experiences. And so I can experience something quite terrible in my life, deal with it with an energy of positivity because of this idea of possibility. So just recently, and if you Google my name recently and with state capture, I blew the whistle on corporate corruption and state capture about 1.5 years ago. And I'm actually testifying at the Zondo Commission in the next few days. But being a whistleblower in South Africa is a very difficult thing to do because of the consequences. So I've feared for my life. I've lost income. I had to quit my job. I've lost friends. I've been ostracized. All things which talk about uphill, talking about boulders in my way, talking about potholes I'm facing. And it's been awful. It's been hell going through this. And I've, often when you're going through a tough time, you kind of go, why me? I just want to get rid of this agony and this pain right now. And I felt all of those things. I felt the mental anguish of going through this. But in the back of my mind, I always had this idea that this is just part of my path of possibility. Through this and coming out of this, there are going to be possibilities. And what's been amazing already is that I've had so many opportunities because of my whistleblower experience of being able to share my experience and share my thoughts with others. And so possibilities are already emerging. I've been asked to write a book. I've been asked to write articles. So again, for me, these are possibilities that have emerged because of my attitude and my approach to things. So the second part of my philosophy was this idea of possibility. The third part I want to emphasize is it's my path. The philosophy is travel my path of possibility. And why I'm emphasizing this my path part is it's something I must do, and in many ways I must do it my way. This means no one can judge me in terms of success or failure. And while a lot of people want to say Ethel's been successful or Ethel's been a failure, those assessments are based on whatever measure they're using. You and I have got to decide on what measure we will use to assess our lives. And for me, this is my path. So if choosing to be a poet is a stupid thing or a dumb thing or a counterproductive thing to do by some people's measures, I will hear that, listen to their advice, I will hear what they're saying, but ultimately this is my path that I've got to walk. Now, I don't mean to say you need to be selfish and dogmatic and ignore advice and ignore everyone else or trample on anyone else. The idea of my path is that I've got to live a life that's meaningful for me. And that's a pursuit. I don't think you ever get there. But as I'm traveling on this path, I keep saying and asking myself, is this the right thing for me? When I get a job offer, I ask, is this the right thing for me? Is this what I want to be doing? I can see why my family might love it. I can see why my friends might love it. But is this the right thing for me? And I then set out to start a number of NGOs, particularly around education and literacy, because those were obviously my passions, but also I know the power of education and what it did for me, and I wanted to enable others to have that same benefit. The last part of this travel my path of possibility is this idea that it's traveling, it's active. It's not sit at home and watch my path of possibility emerge. It's traveling this path, taking the steps, making the effort along this path. Sometimes you got to go fast, sometimes you got to go slow, sometimes there is no path. Sometimes you've got to create your own path. When I went to MIT, when I went to Harvard, when I went to even to WITS, there was no path that my family had laid for me that I could follow. There was no path that anyone had laid for me that I could follow. I had to create that path. And so I encourage you to think about the steps, your next steps. And your next steps might be to follow a well-trodden path, and that's fantastic. But if the path doesn't exist, create it. I think that's where innovation happens. That's where adventure happens. That's where possibility emerges. And I've actually found my most rewarding things I've done have happened when I'm creating my own path, when I'm trying things that are new or unconventional. You know, I was trained as an engineer. How do I end up becoming a poet? And I love the idea of exercising different parts of my brain. And literally I just said, well, let me just try this. Let me try being creative, even though I'm trained in mathematics and differential calculus and physics and mechanics. Let me understand this other part of myself. So the sense of adventure, of wanting to try things. So that has been my philosophy of traveling my path of possibility. And I offer it to you as something to consider, as a philosophy, and perhaps something for you to explore. Perhaps let me just draw out 5 drivers of success that I'd like to share with you from my experience and from that story. One is, to succeed, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. I encourage you to find something that you're passionate about. Not just it's okay, but you're passionate about. The reality is, most of us and many of us at different times in our lives will have to do things that we're not passionate about. Your first job out of university might not be something you're excited about or passionate about. That's fine. It's part of your path. But at least as you're looking ahead, as long as you're making your decisions, your choices, pursue this idea of something that you're passionate about. I remember reading the biography of Raymond Ackerman, who was the founder of Pick and Pay. And he talks about just his passion for getting groceries and produce and food and household goods to people. He loved it. He just couldn't consider doing anything else. There's another, one of my friends is a painter, and I kept going to him saying, you know, you should get another job on the side, you know, some stability, because who's buying paintings these days? And he just would say to me, this is all I want to do. This is when I'm most alive, when I'm creating, when I'm painting. So I encourage you to find that thing you're passionate about and pursue that. Because then work isn't work. then you're just living out your passion. So that's one idea, the idea of pursuing your passion. The second one of my 5 drivers of success, and you've probably heard me say this already, is approach life with adventure. Life is good and bad and tricky and joyful and sad and all of those things. And many of you would have experienced this already, but approach it with a sense of adventure. So when you're hitting a rough patch, you say, what am I going to learn from this? How am I going to turn this into a good situation? How am I going to tell the story later on that's going to be so exciting? Live with that sense of adventure. And what happens when you live with a sense of adventure, you're always looking around for cool things to be doing. You're looking around for exciting things to be doing. You actually have more energy about your life because you're pursuing adventure. Third driver of success for me has been resilience. The idea of falling and then getting back up again. No matter how you get beaten down by forces out there, by the naysayers, by the haters, by people who are saying no, the more you can get up from that, the more successful you're going to be. And for me, it's not just about falling down and getting up again. It's about falling down and getting up stronger than you were before. And there's almost that moment, you're along your path, you're traveling your path, something happens, knocks you over, you fall down, and you take that moment there of saying, how am I going to get up and be stronger, not just get up? And that was my sense of going to MIT or going to Boston and being homeless. For me, that was I'd fallen down. I had those moments lying there in the cold thinking, what have I done? I should just go back home to South Africa and get my job back and continue my good life at home. And for me, it was at that moment of being in that point of despair of saying, no, but I will get up stronger from this. And so for me, it drove me to want to graduate, to get that degree, because I knew it would open up possibilities for me. So discover your passion, pursue it, live life, approach it with adventure, resilience. When you fall down, and you will fall down, and you've probably already fallen down many times, but when you fall down, get up stronger. I think my 4th point is to establish some expertise. So you're building your career, you're looking ahead, and you're following everything else I've said. I think you become successful when you've got some level of expertise. And to use a soccer analogy, right? You should be the guy the coach gives the soccer ball to when there's a penalty, because he knows you're the guy who will score that goal. You're the person everyone looks to when there's a particular kind of problem to be solved. What is that expertise you will have? Because the more we have distinctive skills, distinctive abilities, the more valuable we are to employers, or the more valuable our products are that we can create if we're starting our own business. So this could be hard skills. So you are the best at financial modeling, or you're the best at mathematical equation solving. Those are valuable skills to have to be seen as experts. But it could also be other skills. It could also be you're able to empathize with people. You're able to inspire people. You're able to bring disparate or fighting parties together to find compromise, to find the middle ground. These are different skills you need. And I've relied on skills like I'm able to synthesize large amounts of information very quickly. So people will be talking for hours, and I'll say, guys, it sounds like there are just 2 issues here, and here are the 2 issues. It's a skill that I've developed over time that people have found useful. So in this path of these five areas of success, drivers of success, I think craft your career, look ahead and think, where am I going to be the guy or the woman that people will call on because of my expertise, my leadership, or my particular traits I've got. And then lastly, I want to suggest that you hold on to your dream. We can so easily get lost as we're pursuing success or pursuing wealth or pursuing fame, whatever it is you're pursuing. But I think it's important to hold on to your dream. And this has been important for me. I talked about this path of possibilities, and along this path, there are things I want to do. When I was in my 20s, I wrote down a list of things I wanted to do, things I wanted to just experience. And some were significant and some might seem trivial, but I had this list. And it was like, I enjoy Bruce Springsteen's music, so I wanted to see Bruce Springsteen live. I'm an Arsenal fan, don't laugh, but I wanted to see Arsenal play live. And then there were other things like I dreamed of going to Oxford to study at Oxford University. Now, when you're living in Mitchell's Plain, in a township, dreaming of Oxford is not even a dream, it's a fantasy, right? It's a fairy tale, because who gets to go there? But these are things I've held out as markers along my path. They weren't my destination, but they were markers along my path. And I did get to see Bruce Springsteen live, in fact, 5 times. I did get to see Arsenal play live many times, and I have been fortunate enough to go to Oxford. So I've kept my dreams alive as I've pursued my life. And with the intention that when I look back on my life, I look back on it without regret, but confident that I've lived a meaningful life, I've impacted other people. And perhaps just to round this off, the work I do now is focused on enabling youth around literacy. I've started an organization called Read to Rise, and you'll see the rise there, rise to be inspired through literacy. And we've already worked with over 200,000 children in South Africa, across the country. And the other part of my work is, as an academic, to train future business and civil leaders in ethical decision-making and ethical leadership. And for me, it's still part of this path of discovery, this path of adventure, this path of possibility of living a meaningful life for myself, but also impacting others around me. So I hope you found something in this little talk I've shared with you. And as a poet, I guess I have to end with a poem. And so I'll leave you with this poem, which captures my life philosophy. It's called One Finite Life. Short this life is, just one I've got. Finite in tenure, whether I like it or not. Death is embracing fear, replacing dreams with I cannot. Life is taking a new step, having a shot. I will do the impossible. I will change the world. I'll give hope to a despairing nation. I'll give bread to a starving girl. I'll break all the records. I'll do what's never been done. I'll give and no love. I'll be a billionaire of fun. You can whip me with your words. You can bash me with your lies. You can chain me to the ground with your rules. You can stab me with your eyes. I'll forgive all personal harm. I'll ignore all acts of mean. But I will not forgive obstruction of my purpose and dream, for I am a Superman. I'm a king. I will not just lie down. I will get up and take to wing. I will rise up as sure as the sun, as sure as the springbok, I will run. As sure as the eagle, I will fly, because I choose to live until I die. What will you do with this day, this hour, this minute? Will you fill it with dull and fear, or will you live it? I'll not tolerate any foe, no matter weapon or munition, especially if that foe is within me in the form of fear or lack of ambition. Short this life is, just one I've got, finite in tenure, whether I like it or not. As sure as the eagle, I will fly, because I choose to live until I die. Again, congratulations on your graduation. Enjoy it, celebrate, and good luck with your future.
Thank you, Ethel. I will now confer in absentia the names of the graduates who have met the requirements for their certificates, diplomas, and degrees in the order in which their names appear in the graduation program. Please look out for your name, which will appear on the screen under the qualification that you have achieved. Your certificate will be couriered to you as soon as possible after the graduation to the address you have provided to us. We have now come to the presentation of awards for Milpark Education's top achievers. Awards are presented to the top 3 performing students of any qualification that has 50 or more graduating students from around the country. This year, I have the pleasure of presenting awards to 9 of our graduates from the School of Investments and Banking across 3 qualifications. Awards are going to the graduates on the Higher Certificate in Banking Services, Advanced Certificate in Banking Services, and the Higher Diploma in Banking. The award winners for academic excellence per qualification are as follows. Higher Certificate in Banking Services, Gesie Maria Lou, First Place Honours, Nicole Barnards, Second Place Merit Awards, and Aratna Shupushan, Third Place Merit Awards. The Advanced Certificate in Banking Services Awards go to Marina de Priya, First Place Honours, Amanda Anastasia Slater, Second Place Merit Award, and Charles Blighnout van Wyk, Third Place Merit Awards. The Higher Diploma in Banking Awards go to Lukman Ali, First Place Honours, Linda Barry, Second Place Merit Award, and Charlene Cornelissen, Third Place Merit Awards.
Jerusalema, ikhaya lami, ngilondoloze, uhambe nami, zungangishiyelana. Jerusalema, ikhaya lami, ngilondoloze, uhambe nami, Shilana, dawu yami, aikulana, buzo wami, aukulana, gilondolose, suhambe nami, dawu yami, aikulana, buzo wami, aukulana.
You can do absolutely anything you set your mind to.
May this day be the beginning of a future full of success and happiness.
And remember, make a difference wherever you can. Congratulations! Su
This brings us to the end of the formal proceedings and the closing of the ceremony. It has been our great pleasure to welcome all our graduates today. I would like to say a special thank you to our guest speaker and keynote speaker for their encouraging words, and to all our graduates, a massive congratulations. By the powers vested in me, I now dissolve this assembly of Milpark Education.
Hi there, Beverly. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Good, man. Good. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. It's obviously a very special day, and that this is being pre-recorded for your graduation day, and you've been. I've chosen to chat to you today, just as one of our graduates, and just to give a bit of insight to your journey, and how you've moved through that journey with Milpark. Tell me, firstly, just to begin with, Beverly, tell me a little bit more about yourself. What have you studied at Milpark? What's your occupation, your career aspirations? Give me a bit of a background about yourself.
Okay, so I've been in the bank for 26 years. I work for Standard Bank. I completed the highest certificate in banking services, NQ F level 5. Career aspirations, let's see. I think my goal would be to stay in the bank and probably do something in compliance going forward, and maybe Forex, because it seems interesting.
Yes, yeah, correct. How do you feel Milpark has contributed to you reaching your career aspirations?
Well, for one, I completed the NQF level 5. That in itself was a goal. And I think the format that they used was understandable. You know, the way they set it out with the lecturers and all of those things. So that was easy. So I quite enjoyed that.
And tell me
until COVID happened.
Until COVID happened, yeah. Let me move on to that, because I had another question before this, but let's move on to COVID quickly. So,
yeah.
I mean, did COVID affect your studies?
I wouldn't say it affected the studies per se, but I think it. Look, there wasn't any interactions with the students or the lecturers anymore, and I needed to be focused. So I needed to discipline myself now with studying alone and making sure that I put time aside to do that. Yeah. And sometimes it's a bit difficult, but yeah, it was okay. It's manageable.
And what was your? I mean, if you could talk to students who are starting out on any qualification with us. I mean, even if it's whether it's a high certificate or an advanced certificate, if you could, or a BCom, if you could speak to any of the grads, I mean, the new students coming in, the new cohort, what advice would you give them from a point of view of organizing your life in such a way that you can study? I mean, everyone's got hectic lives. In many ways, COVID has amplified lots of the mini stresses in life. And so how have you, for instance, dealt with that?
I think my advice to them would be to study from the offset and not to keep things for the last minute. Because I think a lot of the time we do that and we think, no, it's going to be okay. It's just not the case. Not anymore. I think to put in the time and the effort from the word go, to make your notes, try and understand everything, and not keep it for the last minute, because it's just too much. It's just too much to keep in your head. Yeah. So you need to do it from the offset.
And tell me, what from your journey with Milpark, what were some of what was a highlight in your journey with Milpark?
Well, when we started off, I think the lecturers were fantastic. I enjoyed that. I'm not going to mention the names, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. There was such a lot of jokes and the interaction with the students. I mean, some of them they were all colleagues because we all worked together. But some of them I never even met. So that was nice. And even now, we all still on a WhatsApp group, and we're friends. So that was good.
That is great. Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, especially in that, you know, it's a very collegial environment in your case, because it was a cohort from Standard Bank. So that was, you know, that is also quite nice. And that you're in it all together. Are you planning on studying further after this?
Probably do the. I'll have to think about that. But probably do the NQF level 6, maybe the 7. But we'll have to see how it goes, eh? I mean, it was tough. Yeah. It was manageable, but it was tough.
Yes.
But I'm sure I will.
Great, man, great. And just from a more lighthearted point of view, obviously with COVID, you know, things have been stressful, having to juggle everything, and you know, move with the times and move with different, you know, whatever changes there are in both personal and professional life. I mean, what do you do for Intratech? What do you do to kind of relax? I mean, have you read a good book recently? Is any, you know, what do you read books? What do you do to relax in between time, to kind of rest your mind from your studies?
Probably either go for a walk. I am busy reading a book, Gangster State. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yes.
By Peter Louis Myberg. And it's interesting, let's just say that. I won't comment any further, but but interesting, yes. But yeah, I think even with the studying, I think you need to make time to get away. Even now, you know, with COVID, you have to make the time to break away and just do something other than the norm. Because it is what it is now.
Yeah, that is very, very true. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to just say, on behalf of obviously the Milpark School of Investments and Banking, congrats on finishing your studies. I know it is very hard to do it, you know, distance learning while you're a working adult. I've done it myself. when I did my masters, I was doing it part time, and it is something which is tough to, you know, to push through with. But congrats on doing that.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best. You know, all the best for the journey ahead. Take a bit of a break now, but then if and when you decide to come back, obviously Milpark will welcome you back with open arms.
Definitely, I'll be back.
Thanks so much for your time, Beverly. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.